I'll check on group as well if we are live or not. We should be live for now, but let me check on the group just in case. Okay, all right. I think we are live now. Hello, guys. This is Uygar from Launchese, and thanks for joining us on this lovely Friday afternoon. It's beautiful weather here. As you see, Emrah from Turkey, and he is in the best part of Turkey at the moment, the best place you can be in, a town called Bodrum, which is in south part of Turkey. Beautiful sunshine, beautiful sea. So me and Alper, we are in. Well, I'm in London. He is in Ireland, so we cannot compete with the weather over there. But we will try to keep up. Right. So, guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for waiting. As you know, we regularly do live videos with the payment processors, banks, accountants, etc. This week, luckily, we met with Emrah. Emrah is from PayPal, and his title is Head of Sales and Market Development for Middle East and Africa. Hi, Emrah.
Hi, everybody. I hope
And
everyone.
also, we have Alper from PayPal from Dublin, and he is the manager of enterprise sales, I guess, isn't it, Emrah? Alper?
Yes, enterprise sales.
Okay, fantastic.
Hi, everyone, by the way.
Nice. Okay. All right. So, guys, as you all know, on Launches, we always try to help entrepreneurs from all over the world to run their businesses efficiently. And we are trying to build a bridge between them with the payment providers, payment gateways, etc. And we all know the problems in the market. We all know the problems in the industry. So what we are always trying to do is connect you with the right department of the companies like PayPal, Stripe, etc., and trying to help you guys to improve your businesses. Today we have special guests from PayPal. Thanks for coming. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna announce how Launches is going to work with PayPal. What kind of benefits you're gonna get as a Launches users from PayPal. And obviously, you have lots of questions. I'm 100% sure. Feel free to post your questions on the Facebook group, Facebook page, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, etc. Any type of questions, we will try to reply and give you some information about new PayPal services. And before start, I would like to tell all of you, you know, I'm always friendly with everyone. And if you ask questions like, PayPal banned my account, why? I cannot help you. Nobody can help you at the moment. So I know you. Look, I am in the e-commerce for 15 years. All my businesses, we use PayPal. We always have some problems. Sometimes not, sometimes yes. But the problem, the motto here is to solve the problems. PayPal is trying to solve the problems between sellers and the users. And they always come with different ideas. I'm sure it's going to be a really nice live call. And we will start with how we're going to work with PayPal. Right. Emrah, Launches users, they would like to know if how Launches are going to help them to communicate with PayPal. I know we had chat for a couple of weeks from now on, and we are trying to help those people. And PayPal has lots of new services. They are trying to help new businesses, especially growth businesses. Can you give me some information about how Launches users can get benefit from PayPal services?
Sure. So thank you, Igor, for organizing this session. Appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for attending and making themselves available for the live session and interest at PayPal and so on. So how Launchese and PayPal will collaborate together is basically streamlining a lot of the issue and problem solving. A is one thing, right? B, streamlining your relationship with PayPal and how you start that relationship from the start when you're opening the account and the proper way of how you open the account, where you need to be careful, and going forward during the onboarding process. So there are some nuances after you open your account, depending on the business type, the business model that your company is operating under. We might need to have different conditions, terms that is standard across the industry. But we will streamline those type of onboarding processes for you. And at the same time, once you start selling with PayPal and accept payments, we'll basically, be a point of contact in a sense outside of the typical customer service, which will, again, the normal problem solving avenues, initial avenues. But if there is a need to escalate something, at least you're going to have that option with Launchese to approach us and for us to look into that problem for you. Now, we do want to be not the initial point of contact for any problem solving, because there are specific departments that are built, teams that are built, and their day-to-day jobs when they show up to work is to solve these problems. So we want those colleagues to obviously solve them and do their jobs. But if there's something that you need to escalate, at least Uygar and Launchese will be able to do that for you. And finally, the fourth pillar, I would say, as part of this partnership is the fact that we do want to support your growth, right? So we are aware that PayPal allows you to start selling online quite easily rather than going through the traditional banks where you might need to put up some upfront money, where you might get rejected and so on, where we are an easy entry solution for you to start selling. But once you start selling, obviously we want this to succeed, because PayPal only source of revenue of PayPal is when you do succeed and when you have a successful sale, right? So our interest with PayPal, that is a bit different than maybe some other financial institutions, is that when there's a sale happens, we make some money. But if there's no sale, there's no money to be made for PayPal. So we also with Launchese want to help you grow, be with different products, be in different markets that you want to go after. So we also want to kind of be part of that growth journey too.
That's amazing, because we are advising people to create their PayPal business accounts since we started as a startup. And one of the most common issue which I've noticed is support. Look, I understand the scale of PayPal. You have, I don't know, God knows how many users you have. And I cannot imagine the amount of emails and requests you receive. I respect that. I mean, maybe millions. I mean, I even cannot imagine how many tickets you need to solve per day. But to have someone like you or you guys or your department, it is going to help Launchese users extremely, because sometimes those huge companies, you feel like they're faceless. Okay, so what you do, you send an email, a customer support from another point of the world, they reply, dear user, thank you for your attention, this, that, etc. But if you have a department, right department, can understand what you're doing, what are the problems when you grow, and what kind of problems you might face, and if you in somehow, which is Launchese is going to play that role in the middle and try to coordinate those requests from the users through the PayPal. And I believe it's going to be beneficial for everyone. I know there are lots of people in the group now. They keep posting. I know you're paying, guys. I know we always have some problems with payment gateways. Remember what I always say, financial institutions are different. They have their own rules. Sometimes we don't like what they say. I'm the same as well. But we need to cooperate. We need to define the problem, because if we cannot define the problem, we cannot solve this one as well. Getting angry with Stripe, PayPal, that is not going to solve our problems, because the customers, they would like to pay with those tools. I mean, I believe the market share, the biggest market for PayPal is United States. Am I right, Emrah?
Yes.
And UK, Germany, Australia, those, what are the huge markets? What do you see if you look to the market-wise, PayPal? In which point, okay, we are really big in this country and we growing in that country. Can you give us some data, not private one, obviously. Can you share with us?
So we have split the world, I would say, into two, right? The core markets where we have a significant penetration and acceptance, and international markets where we're investing for growth, and we're growing with the merchant segment and also the consumer segments. Now, when it comes to the core markets, which tends to be the bigger digital economies in the world, it makes up about 70+% of our total business. So these are, if not more. So these are the North America, Australia, US, obviously from North America, UK and Germany are the top 2 markets in Europe. So if you're selling into Germany, you really have to consider PayPal. If you're selling into UK, you really have to consider PayPal there. And US is the same thing. And Australia is the same way. Also, that's same true with the little bit Southern European countries and Western European countries, be it Italy, Spain, France, Portugal. So these are also significantly penetrated markets of PayPal. Then comes the international markets, which is starting from Central Eastern Europe with Poland, all the way to Singapore, basically, and all the way from South Africa to Latin America in some markets. Now, these are having a special kind of focus that we combine these emerging markets, international markets, and we do give them a special attention. And from those markets, we are growing significantly in Southeast Asia. We're growing significantly in the UAE, in the Gulf markets. In Africa, we're growing significantly in South Africa, Kenya, which is a growing digital economy, and also parts of Latin America as well. After we made some investments to Marketpego and Marco Libre, the two, the wallet and also the marketplace, the largest ones in Latin America. So if you're selling into the US, North America, Western Europe, and Australia, we do tend to have 30+% of the digital buyers there, bare minimum. We have a very large share of the digital economy there.
Okay. Well, I'm sure everybody is aware of the power of the PayPal and how many people they use in it. I'm going to start from scratch. To sign up with PayPal is extremely easy. You open a business account, fill the forms, etc. Most of our users, they have UK entity anyway, so they know how the system works. Is there anything very important in the sign-up process they need to pay attention?
Sure. So a couple of things. I think the easiness of PayPal signups and how you enable PayPal is sometimes a double-edged sword, right? So here is a solution that allows you to sell that goods and services, be internationally, be whoever, and in a day, in 5 minutes, in 20 minutes, whatever. But that easiness and no entry barrier kind of creates that false image that, it's almost like you open up a Facebook account with PayPal. You kind of sometimes forget that this is a financial institution, that this is a financial tool that's regulated and so on. So if you look at it that way, it's similar to open up a bank account. So just like how you would not kind of have shortcuts and do not kind of bend the reality, the truth with the opening up a bank account and when at a bank branch, when you're looking at someone face to face, a representative, you kind of have to follow the same rules, right? Because if you want to get that money out from your PayPal account, even if we allow you to open that account with some false information, once you start selling, we're going to know a lot about your business from the data points that we collect.
Exactly.
So if you get anything from I know the community has a lot of dropshippers. So unless you kind of point that out to PayPal, it basically tells us that you're starting off with the wrong foot, right? It's not being honest enough. And that's the main thing I think what you should do. You should, when you open a PayPal account, it should look exactly the same how your registration looks on your trade registration. A second issue is, or second common mistakes that are done is when you're putting a first name, last name, which is the first thing that's being asked, people tend to put their entity names there. Where we PayPal.
What do you mean with that?
So when you put your first and last name, people sometimes put, their, first couple of words in their entity name, and then the last name is also the continuous of their entity registration, rather than because people do.
Can I just jump here?
Sure.
Usually a common mistake that many business account users do is, for example, as this is going to be a business account, they say, the accounts department or the finance department is going to be handling all matters related with PayPal. So what they do is, they enter finance as the first name and then department as the last name, which then creates a problem in terms of compliance. And, if there's a compliance limitation or if there's a warning on their PayPal account and they try to reach our customer service department, now as the primary account user is seen as someone that is by the name of finance department, then that customer service agent will never be able to help out in removing the limitations or answering in what the issue is, etc., etc. Go ahead, Emrah.
That's very interesting
jump
point.
on your talk.
That is exactly true. So, like I said, I mean, those type of silly things that you do in the account opening often creates friction for us, right? Because we have to KYC, which is we have to know our customers, right?
Exactly.
So if that information doesn't match what you have on your trade registration, because of, it's a quick sign up and you do sign up to PayPal online in 5 minutes, you just have to be careful that this is a financial institution, this is a financial tool, this is a regulator. You should treat it like a bank account in a sense, as seriously as a bank account. The second thing is a common mistake is, other than not being completely, upfront about what your business model is that, you shouldn't downplay where you're based and the sales that you do. You should, again, be upfront, just like how we are upfront with what you do. Also, how much you're processing and how much you are expecting to process. Because a lot of Yes, go ahead.
I would like to jump on this one. How they can be honest. I mean, when you make the registration with PayPal Business, I'm just trying to imagine this, the registration form. You ask some questions about the website, So you telling me that Uyghur has a store, Uyghur's dropshipping store, or Uyghur's phone cases store. If I'm telling you that, hey, PayPal, I'm going to sell those phone cases, if I sell something else, do you think I could face problems?
Sure. Yes. So, I mean, there's no easy way of communicating that. Like every time you add a product, we don't expect you to let us know, right?
Exactly. It's hard.
That said, we do expect you to follow the acceptable user agreement that all PayPal users are checking the box, might not maybe reading it, but you should. It's not a long form, so it's not like a user agreement of 70 pages. AUP's acceptable user policies are about 1 page, 1.5 page. It really outlines of what things you cannot sell in this geography and where you are basing your operation and you have your PayPal account. So if you're selling anything that could be against that, it's worth it to pick up the phone and give a customer call, because it's not worth to risk the entire volumes you process with PayPal and jeopardize that business over maybe 2 hot items that you're going to make a good amount of sales. But it's not worth it to risk for the entire 90% of your other business.
Okay, that's fair. Quick one. Is there a problem? Somebody lives in X country, let's say in Morocco, etc., but they're running the business in United Kingdom. I mean, I know it's a complicated question, but do you think they could face a problem with that? I mean, it's legal. There is nothing illegal in that way.
So it depends, like how they have set up this structure. So we do like to have a team on the ground, right? So if there is a team, even a 1-person, 2-people team who does the fulfillment, who does some accounting or whatever it might be, right? As long as you could show a team, an office address, something in those forms, those are the things that we're looking for. Now, that doesn't guarantee that, everything is going to be smooth sailing, to be honest with you. But again, if you are really upfront, and that's, I think, the most important thing here, that there isn't anything that we cannot solve. And the parts that we cannot solve is meaning that it means that those activities are against our user policies, which then tie into some regulatory guidances or industry standards or something that is to protect both the consumer or the merchant. So I think that's the part. And I don't think that anyone should be happy by getting away for 6 months of processing with PayPal and not exactly being very honest, because that's not something that you should celebrate, right? Because that initial 6 months, yes, maybe the business hasn't picked up that much. Your business is new and you're ramping up, so it's not really catching the eyes of PayPal algorithms. But as soon as you start growing, you're going to get limitations, and we know that if you're not honest, you might even get it might get as bad as parting ways. That we want to close the account. We don't want you to process payments with PayPal, and that could be the end of millions of dollars in sales that you could be doing over the term of a couple of years if you were to be kind of maybe following some of the steps that is required to to do on that specific business model. So, for example, with the drop shipping is a very good example, regard, and it is.
This is the key question: is PayPal dropshipping friendly?
Of course, absolutely. So we are friendly. I mean, we don't have anything against one vertical over another vertical. If it's legally allowed in the industry, in that market, and it's not against our user policy, of course. And dropshipping is not. I mean, just to give you an example, our top 100 merchants in the Middle East and Africa, about 10% is dropshippers. And I mean, these are very large businesses. They sell millions of dollars worth of goods through dropshipping models. So, but what they have done is, they are basically straightforward from the get-go, from the beginning, and they do go through the processes where PayPal requires a drop shipper to go through, right? And usually that ties, I hate to say this, but I could justify if anyone is interested of why, but there are usually reserves involved with drop shipping, right? And that's understandable. It's not with PayPal. It's usually it's a standard industry practice when you do drop shipping, just because of the fact that there are more third parties involved in a single sale of a good with a dropshipping model. So there is dependency to other suppliers, and you don't hold the product in your warehouse where you are immediately in your possession to ship. So that creates the longer fulfillment times. There might be things that there are possibility things to go wrong is just higher chance than if you were to sit on that product right in your warehouse, and that's no brainer. That's just how the business is. So knowing that, we do want to protect, just because you hiding that for the initial couple of months because you're just getting started with the business, I don't think it's the right thing, because if you were to be onboarded the right way, yes, with a little bit reserves maybe that we could challenge as time goes and you grow with PayPal.
How much reserves we talking about? I mean,
Depends.
I'm a drop shipper. I started to sell, I don't know, I'm making $500 every day.
Mhm.
Or how quick do you think? I'm sure there is a threshold when they know your customer checks or extra questions they start. When I'm going to face with those checks, and how much reserve do you think I could face? Maybe if we tell those people advance, hey, if you do dropshipping with PayPal, most likely you're gonna face with reserves, and the reserves could be, I'm just guessing, 5 to 20%. Maybe if we tell those people advance, maybe they're gonna prepare themselves, and when they do their price structure, what is the formula on that one?
Sure. There isn't a special formula that we kind of apply across the board. There is a questionnaire that is specific for dropshipping, so that we understand a little bit better of the supply chain. So that, because if we understand more on their supply chain for a drop shipper, then I could make a better judgment call on the exposure of that supplier has as an implication to that drop shipper. And then I could say, okay, the volumes, let's say you do $1 million, let's say you do $20,000 a month as a dropshipping model, and that requires 50% reserves, for example, for the argument's sake. But if you are working with some 5-star suppliers that has 5 stars from Alibaba, right? Or you're very open and you give us that supplier information by filling that dropshipper form up front, could say that, okay, these suppliers are good enough to work with, and this dropshipper is working with such a predominantly well-known suppliers. Hey, my exposure is a little bit less, so it's not 50%, it's 20% now. So that's where I'm saying there isn't one usual blanket approach we take, but usually I would say it's hard to avoid reserves when it comes to dropshipping, but how harsh or how easy of a term that reserve condition is, it's a bit up to you who you work with as far as suppliers, how much processing you do. So obviously if you do $10 million a year, that's a higher exposure, because don't forget, PayPal, there's a reason why the Americans, the UKs, the Australian consumers, the world consumers, we get about 325 million plus actives worldwide. So there's a reason why these are using PayPal as frequently as they are, because they have buyer protection. If something goes wrong, we guarantee the money back. So if you do not deliver the goods, PayPal picks up that cost out of its pocket, and that's a cost to our bottom line. We do want to be covered. And same thing with you, though. So if you are doing drop shipping or you're doing cross-border trades, and you don't know that buyer, so if you were to ship within Egypt to Egypt or Morocco to Morocco, UAE to UAE, right? you tend to know more about market dynamics, about fraud and chargebacks and what to look out for, right? When you're looking at a transaction. But when it comes to opening the store to global audience, where you're selling into 10 markets, 100 markets, 50 countries, then you don't really know exactly who you're selling to. Then PayPal comes into play, and maybe you might not like those terms, but at least you know that if you do what you're supposed to do by shipping the goods to the delivery address that the consumer asked, that you'll be covered if there's a chargeback, if there's fraud, and you don't lose that $2,000, you don't lose that $1,000 worth of sale all of a sudden, and it might maybe be the end of your business, and PayPal will cover that losses, and you could continue your business. So there is a reason why we take these, and we're not trying to make anyone's life difficult, but we're trying to protect both the consumer and the merchants.
Okay. This form you were talking about the drop shippers. In which point PayPal? I mean, well, obviously I'm not drop shipper. I didn't see that form. But in which point the users, they can see, or they will be requested to fill this form? Is there any special step, or when they onboard in that?
So when we are onboarding, there is that form. So it's not available when they're opening up their PayPal accounts. Because there is no drop shipping in the drop-down menu of what you do. What you do is you do retail business, right? Now, when you start to sell, and that comes back to, I guess, regarding the thresholds. So there isn't one specific threshold per one merchant account, I want to say, because it varies by merchant location and where they are registered, right? But I would say after you do, a couple of $1,000s of sales overall in your lifetime, not monthly. So you could get to that in 2 weeks. You could get to that 2,000, 3,000, whatever that threshold in that specific month in 6 months, because you do, $200 a month, whatever.
Okay,
but if once you get to, let's say, $2,000, $3,000 worth of lifetime sales, we do want to know who you are, right? Because then becoming a real business all of a sudden, that this becomes a good revenue source for you. You're registering for an entity. So we do want to know who you are. And that's fair. Just like a bank would never open up a bank account without getting your identification, your proof of address, right? And the second thing is, after that, as you grow, once we know who you are and what you do, and we identify you're a dropshipper. So it then comes down to how open you are. So if you're open, you're doing yourself a favor, because then at least we could work with that, right? Because if you're very upfront with it, then at least I could have a solution with it. If you're not, then it becomes a problem solving, and it might be too late. And then you get into these questions. PayPal found out I was drop shipping, and it's been a while since I've been in business, and you guys have been holding my money for 180 days, and so on. I have to chase you guys as well. So then you get into those type of chasing money afterwards, because again, there's limited amount of people who works at PayPal, and there is a ticket, and there's tons of tickets that we come in that these folks, colleagues, have to work with. But the second step would be that honesty. I think that you're calling yourself a dropshipper right off the bat. Now, once you do, the response that you're going to get is, okay, if you're a dropshipper, fine, but here are the steps that you need to go through. And there are some additional things. But just like how if you're an airline, you have to go through some additional steps once we identify you're an airline, or you're in travel business, or if you're in, I don't know, if you have digital goods, if you're selling e-tokens, vouchers, there's some special parameters that we want you to pass. So every business model is different. So the step that needs to be taken on dropshipping, you being honest, you're going to get in return as a response. Here is the form that you need to fill, which tend to be built around the suppliers that you have, about how you managing your money. As far as do you have enough money to buy the new inventory, right?
So in that case, what are you going to ask to the user? Are you going to ask the user to send some bank statements to show their capital, or?
Exactly. So we would ask for 2 years of financials. And I do acknowledge that it's not feasible for every seller to have.
What about if I'm a new starter? I just started 2 months ago.
Sure. So we would be asking for bank statements in that case. We would be asking, maybe if we're not the main processor, so you're using, let's say, Stripe, you're using some other card processor, which is fine. Then we would be asking maybe your card statements through those credit card processors of yours. So that could tell us how much chargeback have you gotten so far. How much are the volume sales that you have? What are the number of claims, and what are the consumer locations? So who are your customers? So it gives us a lot of information to make a judgment call. Again, more the better, because if I don't have, as an underwriter, if I have limited information from the seller, then with that limited information, I want to be very risk aware,
Quick
and I
question.
have more reserves.
Quick question. You called underwriter. We both know what does it mean, but most of people they watching, they have no idea what is underwriters. Do you mind to give us some explanation about that?
Sure. So we do underwrite our businesses that are growing or reach to a certain sales, or doing businesses in a model where it requires an underwriting upfront. So those will be drop shipping, those will be travel, those will be your airlines, or online travel agencies, and so on. And there's a good reason we do the underwriting for those businesses, and or the ones that are selling T-shirts and holding on to the inventory, but selling T-shirts, $5 million worth of T-shirts a month, right? Reason being is we offer buyer protection and, again, seller protection, but it comes down to the buyer protection side of it. So imagine that you do not exist in a week time, God forbid, the business. And there are all of these back orders that you got the money, you got the payments in, right? And they're waiting to be fulfilled. And imagine yourself disappearing, you go insolvent. And what happens is PayPal then looks at these transactions. It could be 100,000, it could be 1 million, it could be 10,000, whatever it could be. Then we have to pick up that bill. And it could be in the millions, it could be in the hundreds of thousands. And it's a lot of money even for PayPal, right? To have that type of losses from a single deal. So what we look for financial solvency. Are you going to continue to operate with your current cash flows for the next couple of years, let's say? Is there a risk for you to shut down the business, and then PayPal is left with refunding these consumers out of its own pockets? So that's why we underwrite the merchants.
Okay,
Just
fair
because
enough.
we give the buyer protection. But again, to the community, that buyer protection then allows you to do sales, right? Because that buyer protection allows that consumer to transact online with knowing the comfort that it's money back, very guaranteed. So they're okay to shop online, and they're okay to shop from a website that they are not known as a brand locally to that American or that consumer in the UK, right? The brand might not be, the website might just be their first time that they're visiting. And that buyer protection allows that transaction to take place.
That gives the
But in
confidence.
return, we do ask for those things.
That gives the confidence to the buyer, because when they see the PayPal logo, obviously they share their information easily, and it brings more customers. That makes sense. Another very common question I would like to ask is how to maintain a PayPal account, how to keep it healthy.
Sure. So, I mean, maintaining a PayPal account for the most part is the data entry. So you keep your account up to date. So if you move to a new location, to a new address, make sure you update it, right? So
most of people, including me, we always ignore that.
Because again, it comes back to, I think, the image of PayPal, of easiness of opening that account, right? It's like as if it's a Facebook account in a sense. It's in the back of people's minds sometimes. And think about it again, treat it as a bank account. So if you do not update your, phone number, if you don't update your address, and when we do need to get in contact with you because you did grow enough to underwrite, we have to underwrite you, or we did identify that you're a dropshipper and we do want to keep the business going, but we're finding out that you haven't been really maintaining your financial information that should be financially quality information in that PayPal account. It should be as financially quality data as a bank account, right? So that's the first thing that I would say, which is easy. It's a bit of a discipline. Second thing is basically the customer, right? Again, comes back to keeping that healthy relationship with the customer so that PayPal claims, chargebacks are in a reasonable level. And that's not specific for PayPal. That's across the industry. So if you have 10% chargebacks, good luck with Stripe. Good luck with whoever, right? Good luck with PayPal.
What is the acceptable chargeback rate?
So we do not give seller protection above 1%. Or that's the cap. So it doesn't mean that we'll cut it as a very harsh stop. Because if you are a good seller that is trying to do the right thing, right? We do want to, just because you've been victim of fraud attacks, we don't want, and all of a sudden that specific month you went above 1%, we do want to work with you. We do come back and tell you, hey, to our research, this is the IP address where you're getting the attacks. Can you block it from your end? Because if I block it, then they're going to fall back to a credit card, for example, or something. Hey, this is the country that you're getting the 80% of your chargebacks. Do you really want to, this doesn't make up, take away the frauds. It doesn't make up a lot of overall business. Do you want to just pause it for 2 weeks so this fraudster kind of goes away? And then we kind of put some more controls in place. And here's our recommendation, Mr. or Mrs. Merchant from PayPal side. Implement these things. I think you'll be fine. So we work with the sellers to fix that leakage that brought them to about 1% chargebacks.
Fair enough. Shall we go to the questions a bit, because I'm getting.
I'm scared.
Yeah, no. I'll be democratic, and because most of the questions I see they are also on my list as well. I will, because I've seen some very interesting ones here, which I really wanted to ask as well. The first one from Anas, he says, my question to PayPal, can we get an option to pay out from UK PayPal in USD currency to US or European bank? This is a common question I'm having as a business owner. I'm having the same problem as well. My company is in UK, but I'm selling a lot to the United States, so I'm getting payment in US dollars. When I would like to transfer that money to my account, first I need to convert it to the GBP, obviously, then withdraw to my GBP account. But as you imagine, there are extremely different currency rate system for the PayPal. It's your business, I respect it, but as a business owner, I find it unfair because I would like to pay as much as less I can. Why PayPal, they don't offer those people, especially UK businesses, I've noticed that a lot. Why we cannot add other type of currencies and the bank accounts to withdraw that money to our own accounts in that currency?
Sure. So technically it's possible. So you could withdraw your money in GBP, USD, and euros, and among other currencies by holding a UK account. Now that's functionality we enable for very large merchants. So when I say very large, you don't have to be, you don't have to be the Facebooks, you don't have to be the Ubers or not, but you have to be. Let me not comment because again, it depends. France has a different one, UK has a different one. And the functionality is different. Some markets don't have multi-currency withdrawal functions, but you do tend to be, a couple of $100,000 a month, let's say, that you have to be processing, right? So a couple of $1 million a year, let's say. Now, reason being that we only enable it for those type of a larger clients because sometimes, again, people forget we're not a bank. So we do rely on the banking infrastructure to process these payments and then settle this money to your account, which is in a sense at the end of it all is a bank account. So the bank charges us, we kind of charge to the consumer or the merchant. Now these things, multi-currency withdrawals, comes at a cost. So we don't want to charge this thing, obviously, right? Then all of a sudden the fees keeps adding up and adding up. So we enable it only for the large enterprises. And we kind of convert everything to GBP and then we throw it that way, which is dirt cheap, if not free, to withdraw to a GBP account. But if there is any merchant out there in the community has a couple of $100,000 in sales with PayPal, a couple of $1 million a year, a couple of $100,000 a month, I could definitely look into and getting the right folks involved to see if we could offer multi-currency withdrawal.
That is very important because I know that there are lots of dropshippers out there which doing their job professionally and fantastically. They doing those numbers and they approach us a couple of times and they were asking that question, but I didn't know the answer that time. So okay, all right, this is very positive. It's going to save a lot of money to people as well, and that will. Oh, I would like to get this question, which is we are three Turkish men from three different countries, so you don't need to answer if you don't want to. And I was so upset when PayPal left Turkey. I'm not going to the details. We all know why, etc. Önder is asking, any plans for giving service again in Turkey?
I'll have tears in my eyes. Önder, I'm not in the liberty to answer. I do apologize, but I could tell you this. We do want to give service to anyone and everyone. All right. And it's not that if we're allowed to operate in Turkey, we would be.
Okay, fair enough.
And we did everything humanly in our power to kind of make it happen. And just so you know, I mean, I'm still based in Turkey, right? How much the company have stuck with the country, because I do believe the company gets sometimes false judgments about this topic. We stopped operations back in 2016. We're in 2020. Wow. For the last 4 years, we did have an operation. Not an operation. We didn't have an operation in Turkey, but we did have a team in Turkey. So that's how much we want this to work. But if you ask me today, that is not a near-term plan, just so you know.
So you're telling me that there is no light at the moment?
I'm not saying that. I mean, we do want to come back. We do want to service the market, but will that happen in the next 3 months? The answer is no. Will that happen in the next 6 months? Probably no. Maybe not even next year or the year after.
If I'm a person from a country which PayPal doesn't operate, like Turkey, can I open a business in different country where PayPal operates? Can I get the PayPal services?
Tricky. So it comes down to the fulfillment, right? Where are you fulfilling the order?
I am sending my products from Turkey to the drop shipping, and I'm sending them to a warehouse in London.
So and then you're fulfilling that order from your UK warehouse to the end user of the consumer.
That's correct.
Sound about right?
That's correct.
So that would be ideal. So that would be something that we could look at, right? Because then it comes back down to where you locate it, where you base, if you have a team there, if you have an office there, and so on. So those things will come into play as well. But the initial consideration should be, where am I fulfilling the order? If I'm fulfilling the order from Turkey and it's just a shell company somewhere else in Mauritius, for example, right? If it's the UAE, then if that's identified, you might have issues that I hear about.
Isn't it similar, like lots of drop shippers in our community as well? They live in an X country. They have a they have a company in the UK, let's say, but their suppliers, let's call it in China, they send directly to their buyers. So you telling me this is kind of risk, but if they send that stock buying from China and send it a fulfillment center in UK, is it more reliable on the eyes of the underwriters?
I would, again, I'm not the underwriter, and every case is different. But yes, so if the registration is in the UK, and if the good is shipped from the UK, where the entity is registered, obviously that's better, right? Because that's where the money comes to, and that's where the product is sent to the consumer, and the consumer pays that money to that entity's, at the end settles into that bank account in the UK. So that's what it should be typically, right? But thinking about outside of the Turkish use case, right? Morocco, for example, just because we brought it up, it's not something, Morocco, we live in Morocco. We have a successful partnership with Dr. Jerry Wafa. We have tons of customers from Morocco, be the consumers, be the merchants. So it's not the same exact sensitivity, I would say. But would it be questions? If I was an underwriter, sure, I would want to know more. But it is a very hard stop of, no, this is not allowed or anything like the Turkish use case. That's a different story, that there's some nuances there that is for Turkey. But for the case of Morocco, Jordan, Egypt, UAE, wherever in our part of the world, I don't see that as being a showstopper. But again, you need to call that out up front. That again comes back down to being very open up front. Because if that's going to be a problem, you want to know if that's a problem in the eyes of the underwriter, your construct upfront, right? And then solve for it early on, rather than you start getting the customers base with PayPal. People are used to paying with PayPal. You then depend 50%, 60, 70% of your business is on PayPal. All of a sudden, when someone comes in and is like, oh, we didn't know you were a dropshipper, or we didn't know you were doing this way, and this is a problem for me, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, and here I'm going to put a limitation, and all of a sudden that aggravates the seller, saying, oh, you're putting limitation. I've been okay for 6 months. What happened? Well, you didn't grow enough within 6 months to trigger some things in the back end. And again, our value proposition is we want to enable your business to start selling today. and you to open up that PayPal account to start selling today.
Really.
But again, you have to be open, and if there's any problems, that's my 2 cents. My friendly suggestion is be honest. Let's identify it. Let's solve it early on, rather than 6 months, a year down the line, when you are big enough and we become a big part of your business, and you don't like me, and as I see on some of the messages, and all of a sudden we get into these things that were, what happened? I don't know. Like all of a sudden you guys, well, what happened is probably you grew big enough, right? Or there was one case of a customer claim, or something happened there. It has to trigger, something had to trigger that.
Has to be a trigger. And you keep repeating being open. This is very important. I've seen it very clearly. And this is what we are trying to explain to people. We deal with every kind of request from our customers. For example, when they have a problem with PayPal, before going PayPal, they come to us and ask, Uygar, what to do, or to our team. And most of the time, the common thing I notice is, for me, what most of the questions PayPal or any financial institution asking is normal, but for them, sometimes it's too much. And I've noticed that a lot of time. They say, why they asking me that question? Why they asking me this question? Why they are asking how much money I have, etc. But you keep repeating, which is very important. I think I'm going to talk with my team about that as well. To be open, just tell them what you're doing. I mean, most of the cases, it's the human nature. We like to hide because we scared. I'm doing business with PayPal for many years, and I still, if they send me a notification or something, I jump from my chair, honestly. And the idea of the human brain, we always go back, oh, what about if I don't say this? What about if I hide that? But you keep repeating that. If you guys be honest with us and show every kind of details, aspects about your business, we assume the sellers, they're gonna have less problems, or they're gonna face the problems before they start to get hundred thousands of pounds in their account and get blocked. This is something, guys, I'm talking to community, we need to consider. I'm happy to I'll do another video about that when we all have settled down and think about that again. We need to be open. I mean, as long as we give more details about what we're doing, hiding is not the solution. Opening a PayPal account under your...
We're going to find out anyways. I can tell you. I mean, we're going to find out anyways. And once we do, imagine starting that relationship with an actual human being on the PayPal side on the wrong foot, right? So you are starting that journey, proving why you weren't very open in the beginning, right? And you have to do a lot of explanation. So from that live breeding individual, the underwriter, they're going to want to be very covering all their risks, and they're going to be very, very much a bit hesitant of giving very easy terms, right? Because in their back of their minds, this is off to a wrong start. But the business model is allowed. So obviously, like I said, I mean, we have tons of businesses, very successful businesses in our existing portfolio today that does dropshipping, only dropshipping. But if you are honest from the beginning and share as much as possible, right? The underwriter at least will then say, hey, they're trying to work with us, but they're new. No one starts, and the available information, unfortunately, I think that's why it's important to have these sessions, is because there's a lot of information on the blogs out there. Don't tell people you're a dropshipper. I don't know why. Because someone got limited on their accounts doesn't mean that we do not welcome the business. I mean, let me say again. I mean, a large portion of our top 100 merchants in the Middle East and Africa are dropshippers. And I just put the pricing for a dropshipper 5 minutes before I joined the call. So we do want to nurture. We are holding their hands to sell into new countries. We're enabling new currencies for them. We want them to grow. We want them to open up maybe different products, different services. So we're doing everything to help these dropshippers grow. Why? Because I meet with these dropshippers face to face. But they did answer that questionnaire, right? They were upfront with what they do. So then I was able to help them rather than solving their account limitation problem, which is a customer service problem at the end of it all. We shouldn't have been there in the first place. If we knew what they've done, we wouldn't have limited them unless you have some crazy chargebacks.
This honesty part, I really like it. I'm going to push that one more to the group and the Launchese users. In this case, after this call, I'm sure there will be lots of dropshippers who are using your services they would like to share more information with PayPal. Okay, imagine I'm running a dropshipping business. I have a distance with PayPal, but I would like to share more information about business. I have a question about that. Zainab asked a question before me. I was about to ask you. Nobody asked me that information about business details. So, okay, I'll be open. Where I'm going to share this information, how those people they're going to share that information, their business model, what they're selling, where they're selling, etc., to PayPal in easy way.
So you're not going to be asked that question when you're registering for the account, right? So because the drop down, like I said, doesn't have the option for you to kind of be open for it and kind of call it out. But what's going to happen is as soon as you get to a couple of $1,000s worth of sales in the lifetime of your account, right?
Yeah.
We're going to want to know who you are. And at that point, when you're uploading those documents, right, you could actually call yourself and you could call it out that you are a dropshipper, right? And you should, because that's what you do in reality. Now, once you call that out, that rep who looks at and KYCs you will then say, oh, wait a minute, this business model requires a policy, a process that we have in place that we have to come through. Again, just like an online travel agency would go through, or an airline would go through, right? So then they will push you to that flow. And depending on your volumes, the good thing is when you are open about this, and if you get that information in front of that rep early on, when you do $5,000 a month or in a lifetime, you don't have that $1 million worth of sales. So that conditions might come in return a bit light, possibly, right? Because again, the exposure is you do $5,000 a month, that's $60,000. So if everything goes junk, if everything goes well, you're a really bad seller, not being honest and not being honest, but you're a fraudulent seller, let's say, right? But you do only do $5,000 a month. So what am I risking? I'm only risking $60,000. Mm-hmm. But if you do, then that $60,000, the coverage that I need to protect myself in nominal terms, in dollar terms, it's small. It's correlated to that 60,000 that total sales you do a year.
Yeah.
But when you grow and you're $1 million worth of business, and somehow you were able to hide the fact that you were a dropshipper, you had very little claims and so on, it just fell, through the cracks maybe, and we just didn't pick it up, right? And now we find it out. All of a sudden, you're a bigger business, my exposure is bigger, and that conditions might come back in correlation to that total sales. So my recommendation to be call it out and make sure, even if you cannot, pick up the customer service and let them know that you do dropshipping and there's a special process that you need to go through, and you don't want to have any kind of problems going forward 6 months down the line. You just want to focus on your sales and growing your store, right? I don't want to just solve it from the beginning.
What's the best way to reach to PayPal? Email, chat, phone call? Which one you prefer? I mean,
chats.
What's that?
There's the boot chat in the UK. Okay. So if you go to the UK site, there's the chat boot. So I think that will be an initial where you can. Second thing is you're going to get alarms. The bell on the upper right-hand corner in the account. When you click on it, it's going to tell you that, hey, we're going to ask for your KYC proof of documents. Please go visit the Customer Resolution Center, and here are the things you need to upload there. And while you're uploading that, you could upload a Word document. You could write a note saying that, hey, this is the business model you do. And just call it out. At least you document it that way too, right? And no one can come back and tell you, oh, you were secretive. You weren't being open and honest. Oh, no. When I was doing $2,000 in sales, you guys asked for my picture ID. When I submitted it, I actually included my business model as well. And I did tell you what you did. You just didn't put me through the processes. And ask, demand.
So this is very good, guys. It's very good point, guys. I mean, when they ask you the ID proof, sometimes company registration documents, etc., I think you can upload several different documents as well. Just try to type a Word document and explain what you're doing. Just be honest to them. Let's be honest to them. If you need help writing this letters, etc., we are happy to help as well. I mean, I think it's always better to be open. Okay, hey, I'm going to do this. If you have a business plan, that will be better, I suppose. But I mean, to make a business plan for everyone, it's a bit difficult. But as long as you are open, looks like there is a possibility to avoid the problems before facing them when you have a couple of thousands or 100,000, etc. in your account.
And what I'll do is I will actually send the form, the questionnaire for dropshippers to Launchese. So Launchese can share it with their teams, so and familiarize themselves,
Mhm.
so they could let you know what type of questions you will be asked upfront,
That's
and they
one.
could help you gather and streamline some of that and help you prepare. And I do get it, and I do sympathize with some of these questions. Do tend to be a bit heavy and a bit more detailed, but there's a good reason why we did, because this questionnaire is not structured if you're a small startup dropshipper, or if you are $10 million, $50 million dropshipper, right? So it's a dropshipper questionnaire. So some of it is a bit enterprise questions. It might not be relevant.
Yeah.
But I mean, Launchese is very experienced, so can definitely help streamline that for you. And
That will be amazing. This is what we are trying to do. There is another question related what we're talking right now. I'm going to post it as well. I cannot see the name, but one user said, most important thing to discuss is to create a direct line between PayPal support and Launchese members, because it's so difficult to communicate with them. Again, I mean, customer support is a difficult job. I can't imagine how many mails, tickets you guys are receiving. But what we are trying to do in Launches is to stay in the between. I mean, for example, that document you're gonna share with our community is amazing. The way before they go and face with those problems, we can train them. We can share that document with them. Hey, you're a dropshipper. You're gonna reach that limit. They're gonna ask you that questions. The way this is what we are trying to achieve on launch is the way we're gonna prepare them. They will know what they're gonna face, and hopefully they're gonna test this one as well. This is just amazing. It's wonderful. Another one. So many questions. um, all right. So this is I also interested in my business as well. There's the first one. What about print on demand business? And what about, for example, are we considered dropshipper with a high risk if we work with a good reputation POD companies such as AOP, which I'm so happy to see that AOP is my other business, Printful and Printfy. I mean, are you aware of print on demand? I know you are focusing on dropshipping, but do you know what is print on demand business is?
So a bit, yes,
Mhm.
sure. The nuances in the back end, how the fulfillment happens, and so on, I guess, might vary. Again, the fulfillment part of it is are you a dropshipper or not? Do we consider print on demand dropshipment or not? Depends on, again, how you fulfill that, right? I would say, again, let's take the approach and consider us as a dropshipper, because as a print on demand, most of the cases, and I had to think about it for 5 seconds, and that's why I paused there for a second. Is that, again, I don't think you are the one who's shipping the goods, right?
The company
Again,
is printing and shipping for behalf of your name. Most of
Exactly.
print-on-demand companies, they are located in value selling, which is the main difference from the drop shipping. For example, we are in London, we ship mainly to UK and US, or same for the other ones as well.
Got it.
If you consider transit time, it's faster than drop shipping in some cases.
I get it, but you as a seller not sitting on the inventory,
No.
right? The textile, the t-shirt, the whatever it is actually held outside of your own location in a different warehouse that doesn't belong to you. So my 2 cents is, just to make sure and not run into any issues, consider yourself as a dropshipper and go through that. You're typically not a dropshipper, so I'm sure the underwriters, you get about 25 million plus merchants. So I could tell this, any business model out there in the world, we have seen it, we have evaluated, we have worked with one form and another with that business. So I am confident that there is a difference between print on demand and what a dropshipper is. You might not maybe have to fill out that questionnaire, but you might have to get reserves. That is a bit easy, just because you're not sitting on the inventory, but you might have to go through maybe some of that questionnaire.
Yeah. Because I mean, I used to have a print-on-demand brand before I started this print-on-demand business. I personally never had any problem. They ask lots of questions, obviously. Where you get in that stock, this, that. My advantage is I was printing the product by myself in that time, but I was using other print-on-demand companies. And I'm just thinking the problems POD users of AOP, which they're using, which is drastically lower if if you compare with dropshippers. I mean, because people, they come to us, they share their problems about the PayPal, this, that. I'm just considering quickly the problems they facing is way less than dropshippers. That's the thing.
Yes. So, I mean, that is a good statement, Ungar, because that kind of tells us that we do not consider in the same bucket as a dropshipper, right? Because the risks tend to be a little bit less. But again, there has to be some, considerations, I would say. Just because, again, actual seller who accepts the payment is not holding on to the actual inventory and doesn't do the fulfillment of that good.
What about the people, they have huge amounts of money? I mean, let's go a bit hardcore questions, slowly. For example, Mahmoud is asking, hello, I tried to contact them December 2019. There was about 7,000 US dollars on the hold for 60 days from the 8th of October, but they're still on hold till I call them today 30 times. I personally faced the holder reserve problem by myself with PayPal as well. But I constantly call them. I think in the UK there's a department, business problems or whatever, and they put the money in the time what they told me. It was 6 months later, but when that 6 months later date came, they deposited my money straight away. But what about if you reach that 6 month waiting time like Mahmoud did, and there is no solution yet? So what those people they need to do, where they need to reach, or where they need to call?
So it is a customer service escalation. This is right. An actual person will have to look and they have to see if there's any claims. The reason that we hold on to the money for 160, 180 days is because it's not simply PayPal rule. It's also Visa and MasterCard gives the consumers the 180 days to file for a chargeback, right? So we're saying that, hey, you might be stopping to accept PayPal payments, you might be closing the store, we might be parting ways, whatever it might be the case for us to no longer work together. But that doesn't mean the transaction that took place in June, you won't get a chargeback through the bank issuer or through Visa and MasterCard in December of this year, even though we haven't been in business, like a normal business of accepting payments through PayPal for months, because the consumer will have that right, and then we'll have to pay for it. But there are times, and I do get it, that we are still holding on to the 180 days, and you might have to get a hold of someone, the customer service. So if you're in the UK, it has to be UK. If you're in the, outside of UK, in Middle East and Africa, I could give you those customer service numbers. And we don't want to hold on. So, and I want to maybe address a false perception, where people think that we're making money from this money that we are holding on for 180 days. It is costing us money. So we don't want to hold on to anyone's money because it's money I cannot use. I can't earn anything. And I just want to get that money out. And I don't make my core businesses. There has to be an e-commerce transaction. I make my own percentage and that's my business. My business by law, in majority of the countries, I cannot make any earnings, any interest from the money, or I cannot pay any interest from that money because it is especially money, but legally it's your money that we are holding on to. So it is maybe a bit of a bandwidth issue from customer service, just because we're growing tremendously. I mean, PayPal, when I joined, we didn't even have 100 million active customers. Today, we passed 330 mil. So, and then the COVID era is skyrocketing the business demands. I mean, there's tremendous demand for PayPal services. So, I mean, you consider those two things, the people are busy. And we were going through the journey where we were trying to automate a lot of the customer service and so on, these introductions of boots and so on. So I do get it. It might be a challenge to get a hold of someone, but it is a customer service number. If you can't get a hold of anyone, please escalate to Launchese. I'll try to help out and intervene and try to get someone to look at it. But again, it's not our intention to hold on to that money a day more than what we need to. And I get these things a lot, but I think it's just because of the bandwidth, or there is another problem at the back end. There's a chargeback that's waiting to be solved.
Okay, that could be a problem as well. Okay, there are different factors, but yeah, okay, all right. Let's check other questions as well. There is one interesting question. I'm from Morocco. Can I create PayPal business account for my company? Do you have you have a PayPal business in Morocco as well, isn't it?
So we have tens of thousands of sellers. I mean, Morocco is the one of the largest seller base that we have in the Middle East and Africa in a very successful way. I mean, the entrepreneur spirit in Morocco is
crazy.
I mean, shocking.
I've been there last year for an event to talk about the online business, etc. 1,000 people, all young. Can you believe that? Young people. It's unbelievable. I never seen something like that. I wasn't expecting before going to Morocco, to be honest. And they all extremely talented. They know software, this, that. They speak minimum 3 languages. It's insane. The potential is crazy over there. There's another one related to Morocco as well. Where's that? This, I don't know. Can we upload UK company documents to verify a Moroccan PayPal account? No, isn't it?
No, because you cannot have a UK company in Morocco.
Yeah.
So that means that wherever you're registered, you have to have that nationality as a PayPal account.
Correct. Let's keep going. Another Moroccan question. Is there any chance feature Moroccan can link bank account? I don't know how it works, Morocco PayPal, but you cannot link the bank account, or how it works over there?
You just have to go through Attijari Wafa. So I actually, maybe a specific session we are one of these days on Moroccan sellers. Attijari Wafa is a partner of ours, and it's been so for a long time. It is a very, it's a top-notch bank in Morocco, tier 1 bank. So we did partner with them. So what Attijari Wafa does is they do MAD and Euro settlements to Attijari Wafa bank accounts. So if you sell, majority of the Moroccans tend to sell into France, just because the French is a very common, language between France and Morocco. It's very commonly spoken in Morocco as well. So just because, I guess, due to that language commonality, a lot of the Moroccans are selling into Europe, specifically starting off with France.
Exactly.
And when they do, they're obviously getting euros. But when they're settling, they need to settle in MAD. So we do give them the options through Attijari Wafa to settle in euros, so there's no exchange losses there or costs. But the answer is Attijari Wafa. Unfortunately, that Attijari Wafa is a bit unique partnership where you have to have a bank account with Attijari Wafa.
I never heard that kind of partnership on PayPal side. I was thinking you guys running always on your own, offices, etc.
You're based in the UK.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Interesting.
In the emerging markets regard, it's a lot of partnerships. So in the UAE, it used to be Network International. We now introduce our own rails. In South Africa, it's FMB. In Mauritius, it's Mauritius Commercial Bank, and there's this ton of those. So it's an equity bank.
Another question. I'm just trying to pick the most common questions. I mean, instead of guys, I know. You posting your questions. I'm trying to push them to Emrah. He's extremely friendly and trying to answer all of them. Obviously, I don't think so. They have hours and hours, so we're gonna limit it somehow. But I'm trying to pick the most common, easy solvable ones in somehow. For example, Zeynep is asking: is it possible to recover an account that has been suspended and limited for 180 days if you have no disputes and you fill the requirement information and explain your business model like you recommended? Okay, I don't know why the account has been closed, obviously, but
that's the part.
That's the part, isn't it?
I don't know today, but of course we welcome the business. So if you have a negative balance, meaning that there's been a chargeback and your account balance is lower than 0, right? That means that you owe us money.
You owe money to
pay something out of our own pocket. And in those cases, you need to pay that money and you need to cover that negative balance. And you need to bring the balance to 0. If you do, then they will consider. If you do already have a 0 balance, and then I have to be careful about what I say, Zeynep, because I don't know why you got limited in the first place, right?
That's the thing.
But if you are open, if you're honest, and you go through the dropshipping questionnaire and so on, there's no reason why you shouldn't recover the account, I would say. And I'm happy to help.
That's good. Technical question. Do you need an access your PayPal account using VPN or dedicated IP address if you are based in none of the supporting countries like Lebanon, even if you have a UK company and PayPal account? What do you say?
Lebanon.
Lebanon's a nice country.
Amazing country, and it is amazing country. Then and entrepreneurial spirit is, I mean, compared to I would say Morocco, Jordan, and Lebanon is such a highly entrepreneurial spirit is high up there. I mean, a lot of successful businesses, right? Anghami comes in mind the first thing, and usually we do end up working together when they do have a UAE entity. At least how I'm able to work, but unfortunately not in when they're first registered in Lebanon. But VPN are not allowed, Hani. I do apologize. But that doesn't mean that you cannot use it, but I cannot recommend you to use it or not. But I could tell you that we do track those things. It is a red flag for us, and you should be careful.
Fair enough. We are not letting talk Alper. I know he is busy with the new baby, but Alper, do you want to add anything? I'm sorry.
No, actually, I was.
With Emrah, we just keep talking together. I'm so sorry because you don't have the face. We cannot see your
Yeah,
face.
true.
I don't feel like you are here. I know you're busy.
True.
I understand.
I'm sorry. I should just apologize from everyone who is watching this. I just have a newborn baby, and
Congratulations.
I could not turn the camera on, but I mean, Emrah has been answering all the questions very well, so I never wanted to jump on and interrupt the conversation. It's just that there was one question about I think someone was asking, I have an account that was limited for 180 days, and can I recover my account? So once again, it really depends. It depends on the reasoning. It depends on why the account was limited and whether the underwriter has reviewed the account and whether in the end PayPal has given a decision to part ways or not. If it's just a if it's just a we have levels of limitations, and if it's just a regular limitation and we are just missing a couple of documents from you, or we are just trying to understand your business model, it's one case. Or it will become another case if the underwriter has reviewed the account and there is a fraudulent activity that they have discovered, and they've limited the account and we're given parting, we're parting ways. Then it will be more difficult, obviously, to recover your account, and in the end, it might not even be possible. So it really depends.
Depends on the situation.
Exactly.
Maybe another comment about the USD usages. I just saw another comment about using the USD in a UK account.
Okay.
So the withdrawal is, again, that is allowed for the larger enterprises. And the functionality to use that USD. So if you're selling it to the US, you incurred $5,000 in dollars, and you have 10,000 pounds sitting in the account. That 5,000 USD can be spent. So if you're paying for your hosting company in dollars, you could use it there. If you are paying a supplier in USD, be it in Europe, be it in US or in China, what you can do is, if you have a good standing PayPal account, you could just pick up the phone and call customer service or your account manager or business support or your customer success manager, and ask them to enable mass payments for you. So what mass payments will allow you to do is they would allow you to send that USD balance in dirt cheap prices to somewhere around the world where you could receive money.
Like your supplier in China, etc. Like you can send that money to your supplier in China.
Exactly. So I mean, and that would be very cheap, because if you don't have mass pay enabled, that it would be a traditional money sent, right? We will consider as a remittance, and that would go through a regular pricing, like I don't know, whatever it is in that specific country. It's different by market. But if you do the mass pays, what you do is you upload. Let's say you have 6 suppliers, and here's $5,000, and $4,000 needs to go back to the suppliers in China, and 1,000 is your margins that you are going to keep. So that $4,000 to that 5, 6, 10 suppliers can be split in a CSV file or an Excel file. You just enter their email addresses, the amount that you want to send or they need to receive, and the currency that they need. So you could even send pounds. Maybe the folks in China
maybe he's active in China. In pounds, yeah. How to get this facility then? Hello?
I'm sorry.
How to reach that mass payments option in the PayPal? I mean, just a call and they're gonna enable it straight away, or is there any consideration?
So if you are registering for PayPal and if you haven't started with PayPal yet, you can just ask for it upfront. If you do sell PayPal and it's a function that you want to enable, you have to go through a bit of a checks to enable that product, because it is allowing to send money quite openly, right? So there are some questions then about transactions, anti-money laundering, anti-terrorist financing, and things that us all financial institutions have to be careful with. So they have to kind of do a couple of checks. It's not like an underwriting, but there's a checks, and they'll enable it in the account.
That's good. Another one from the same gentleman. Let me reverse the question. Do you have any problem accessing PayPal business account from another country?
No.
But I have a company in the United States, and obviously we have a PayPal account with them, and I am accessing that account from my UK IP last 3 years. I never had any problem. But I don't know how it works for the other countries. I have no idea. Okay, let's jump into another questions. Emrah, you with us?
I'm with you.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic questions. It has been already 1 hour, so I'm going to make it short. Alper needs to go back to his family, and Emrah needs to go back to the swimming, I suppose.
My emails.
But, yeah. Oh, yeah, you have 200 emails at least to answer. Guys, I mean, the conversation was nice. I mean, you know what I'm thinking about PayPal. We all have some problems, but Emrah and Alper, they're nice guys. They're open with the information what they share. I understand what you're feeling, and I understand what you're thinking as well. But instead of getting angry, we all as a community we need to find a solution. And we need to reach those people. We need to explain those people that, hey, I'm running, yes, dropshipping business, legitimate business. I'm doing everything is right. And with my understanding, as long as we are open, they are willing to help. We're gonna see, we're gonna test as well. And Emrah is always with us. And after the partnership with Launchese and Launchese supporting, we will start helping the customers first. Obviously, I mean we don't have capacity like PayPal, but for the Launchese customers, we will try to see the problems, escalate to the right person, right department, and let's see what we can do. But the key point is we need to try to be open. As long as we are open, looks like the problem has been looks like it's solvable.
Exactly. And nothing is not. Everything is solvable, right? As long as we are honest in what we do and do what we're supposed to do as merchants. But one thing, maybe regard just the stress. I know it might have been the 100th times I keep saying be honest, be open, but imagine this: you're an airline, you're selling airline tickets, you're accepting PayPal, and you hide that fact that you're selling airline tickets with PayPal. All of a sudden, we find out it's because all of a sudden, you're selling a lot of tickets, and we now know that you're an airline. We limit your accounts. We like, oh, why didn't you tell us so, right? Why didn't you call it out up front? What was the reason that you hid it? So then all of a sudden you open up these unnecessary questions, just like how we would ask from an airline. Just think about it the same way. If you're selling airline tickets, we would want to know, and you would need to fill out an airline questionnaire. So you're a dropshipper, but you don't sit on the merchandise. It's shipped by a third party. So here's a questionnaire that you got to ask. Just get it out of the way early on, so you don't have to kind of send messages like this, so I could walk free in my neighborhood and not get afraid of one of you is going to find me and kidnap me all of a sudden. I want you to guys like us and have good comments, not like scare me with the comments.
Look, this is an interesting question as well. Before you go, I have a UK company currently using Stripe, etc. I've heard that it's not possible since I'm not a UK resident to open PayPal business account. You don't need to be resident. Am I right?
You're right. You are absolutely right.
I have Sorry.
As long as they provide the company registration license and proof of ID, and the proof of ID doesn't necessarily have to be a UK passport or a UK ID. So we do have a lot of individuals who are living in other countries but have legal businesses. So as long as they provide all the relevant compliance and KYC documents, they are more, they can definitely start accepting PayPal.
That's
It shouldn't be a problem.
That's wonderful. All right, guys, I know I took your time. Thanks for joining me. Is there anything special you would like to add?
Thank you, Uygar. I mean, thank you to the community.
Thank you for the opportunity.
It was great to have you, and thanks for reaching us, and thanks for listening, and thanks for the question. Everything, guys. We're gonna walk through with Emrah and his team about how efficiently we can run this. Sorry, my phone is ringing, and I don't know how to. My father is calling. So we will find a way to make these things run smoothly between Launchese and PayPal. Give us some time. Let's plan it properly with PayPal and with our team, and hopefully we will change the image of PayPal is an enemy of dropshippers and that kind of stuff. Hopefully we will change it.
Again, like I said, I love dropshipping. I mean, as a business, personally too, I do want to do it one day myself. And again, a good 10%, if not more, of our existing clients who we nurture and help grow our dropshippers. So today, Alper is looking for dropshippers as we speak. So, I mean, we're actively looking for these businesses. And so we don't have anything against dropshipping. We just have to onboard you in the right processes that's been put in place.
That's very understandable. We'll find a solution. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for everyone for asking questions and joining us on the live. See you later. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.